Okay, so when you think about branding, what comes to mind? Probably logos, colors, maybe a mission statement, right? But what about the font you choose? Today, we're going to dive into why picking a nature inspired font is so much more than just a pretty decoration. It's actually a way to tap into this deep psychological connection that we all share. It's a shortcut to building trust and authenticity for your brand, like almost instantly. This is a huge strategic choice, and we're about to break down exactly how it all works.
To really get why these fonts are so powerful, we first need to look past the screen for a second. We need to tap into a feeling that's, believe it or not, hardwired into every single one of us.
You know that feeling, right? That sense of just immediate grounding calm? Well, that's not an accident. That is a primal connection. For thousands and thousands of years, nature was our home, it was our everything, and that feeling, that's exactly what designers are trying to capture, because it's a powerful shortcut to an emotional state. Which brings us to a really key concept. And that concept is called biophilic design. It's basically the science behind that feeling you get in the forest. It says we have this built-in biological need to connect with the natural world. And in an age where we spend most of our lives staring at screens, that innate connection becomes an even more potent tool. This isn't just some nice idea. It's a powerful psychological principle that smart design can tap into directly.
So, what this all boils down to is this. When you choose a font that mimics the elegant, the imperfect forms of the natural world, you're not just choosing letters. You're choosing an emotion. You're leveraging this built-in human response to communicate that your brand is grounded, it's healthy, it's real, and you're doing all of that before anyone even reads a single word.
All right, so how do we actually do this? Let's get practical and see how this all builds into a strategic toolkit. I like to think of it this way. We're going to break down the different types of nature fonts into 3 distinct biomes, and each one has its own specific feeling and purpose. First up, we've got the forest floor. Think of these as your heavy hitters. They feel like granite, like the solid earth right beneath your feet. They communicate strength, stability, and this kind of rustic, authentic craftsmanship. These fonts aren't delicate, they are strong and deliberate. And you'll see how specific the applications are here. Brands like outdoor gear companies or artisanal coffee roasters, they use these fonts to communicate rugged reliability. Fonts like Northwood or Forester almost look like they were carved out of wood, not typed on a computer, which makes a really solid, lasting impression. Now, let's shift gears from strength to grace. Welcome to the Botanical Garden. These fonts are all about delicacy and elegance. They mimic the gentle curve of a climbing vine or the slow unfurling of a flower blossom. They've got this flowing, almost script-like nature to them. You're going to see these fonts in industries where beauty and refinement are pretty much the product itself. Think high-end cosmetics, fancy wedding invitations, or lifestyle blogs. But listen, here's a crucial pro tip. Use them for emphasis only, like a headline or a logo. Overusing them is like wearing way too much perfume. It just gets kind of tacky and overwhelming. Our final category is the canopy. Now, this is probably what you first pictured when I said nature font. These are the typefaces that directly and very explicitly incorporate natural elements. We're talking leaves and branches right into the letters themselves. This is for sure the most direct approach, and it's perfect for brands that want their connection to nature to be immediate and totally unmistakable. You see it with eco-conscious companies, wellness centers, environmental nonprofits. They use fonts like Branch and Vine to send a super clear message of growth, life, and vitality. Okay, so you have the toolkit, but having the tools is one thing. Knowing how to use them is another thing entirely. So now we're moving from the what to the how. These are the rules that'll take your design from looking amateur to truly professional. Here is the single most important rule. If you forget everything else, remember this. Contrast is king. You absolutely cannot pair a complex ornamental nature font with another complex font. It just creates visual chaos. Think of it like this. Your fancy leafy font, that's the hero. It gets the spotlight right in the headline. But every hero needs a sidekick. And that's your clean, simple, super functional sans serif font for the body text. This creates a clear hierarchy and makes everything perfectly readable. Next up, you have to remember that the right font in the wrong place is the wrong font. For logos, it has to match your brand's core identity, period. For web design, you should only use these decorative fonts for your main headings, never, ever for body text, where readability is everything. And for print, hey, you can embrace a little more texture, create a tactile experience that digital just can't replicate. And if you're using these fonts on a website, here are 2 technical points that are completely non-negotiable. First, performance. You've got to use modern font formats like WOFF2 so your beautiful site doesn't load at a snail's pace. Second, accessibility. Your design must be readable by everyone. Make sure your font has enough contrast against the background. Seriously, this isn't optional.
Now that we've got the rules down, let's tackle some common questions that might be popping into your head. To make sure you've got everything you need, we'll run through a quick-fire round to get you even more clarity.
Okay, first question. What exactly is a naturalist font?
Well, it actually goes beyond just looking like nature. A naturalist font really embodies the whole philosophy of naturalism. It's about rejecting that slick, artificial, super polished perfection in favor of something that feels authentic and kind of human-made. For a brand, this communicates honesty and a what you see is what you get kind of vibe.
Next question, is there a specific font you should use for, say, an environmental poster?
The thing is, there's no single magic font for this. The goal of a poster is urgent, clear communication. So the best fonts are always going to be bold and easy to read from a distance, but they'll still have that organic feel that connects with the message. Think about it. A poster needs to grab attention instantly, deliver a clear message, and feel emotionally resonant. Function always comes first, but the feeling is what makes it stick.
And for our final question, how can you take a regular standard font and make it look a little more organic?
The key here is just one word: subtlety. You can use tools like the roughen effect in Adobe Illustrator to add these tiny, natural-looking imperfections. The goal is just to mimic the little inconsistencies of the real world, not to create some distorted mess. True organic design isn't about looking messy, it's about looking real. So use those tools sparingly.
Wow, okay, we have covered a lot of ground. From the deep psychology of biophilic design all the way to the nitty-gritty practical rules. So let's just wrap this all up with a final summary of your new strategic toolkit. Here are the 3 crucial points to walk away with. 1. This is not just about aesthetics. It's a strategic choice to tap into that built-in human connection to nature. 2. Contrast is king. Always, always pair your complex hero font with a simple sidekick font for maximum clarity. And 3. Context determines everything. The rules for the web, for print, and for logos are all different, so you've got to choose accordingly. So as we finish up, I want to leave you with one final question to think about for your own work. It's not just about what your design looks like, but what it feels like. You've got the tools, you've got the blueprint. So, what feeling will your design grow?